The Everyman podcast, the place where real men talk.
Welcome to the Everyman podcast. This is episode 2 with the boys this week, and we are focusing on the work-life balance, something that us guys and girls tend to have a lot of problem managing these days. I'd like to jump straight in, boys, and ask how you are this week. Did we have a good weekend? How's things?
Not bad, mate. Good weekend.
Yeah, really good, mate.
Well, yeah, mate.
Yeah,
Been to
Yeah,
Glasgow.
anything exciting? What was that, Dino?
I went to Glasgow to get me suit fitted. I'm an usher at a wedding. So I went up there, had a spent some good time because the guy whose wedding it is, I haven't seen him for 3 years. So it's always good to see them. It's like you've never been apart, isn't it?
Yeah, those sort of friends are invaluable, to be fair. We can't see each other for a while and then obviously pick things up straight away. That'll be cool being an usher. Marco, Vines, do you any plans this weekend? Gone? Any crack?
Oh, bro, I'll tell you what, Mike, bro, I was working, right? And on Saturday night, about 2 p.m., right, I start hearing noises, right, rattling coming from like my engine bay. Bro, I'm in a set of traffic lights, and I'm about to drive off. A big bloody metal part in my car falls out, bro. I had the timing belt changed like a few days before, and they mustn't have tightened something properly. And bro, a big metal thing came flying out of the back of the bottom of my car. And I thought my engine was falling out, bro. So that was the situation, but got fixed now, so it's all good. It wasn't that bad, to be fair, but it was a bit scary. But yeah, that's about it, really. Apart from that, football, and that's it. Yeah, what about you?
It sounds like an expensive weekend, Margot, to be fair. Did he win football or not? How did you guys get on?
Dino, I'll let you tell them about that, to be fair, because yeah,
we got beat 3-1 off the team that's probably going to win the league.
Yeah, true.
But we give a good account of ourselves, to be fair. Pretty debatable third goal on their end, but
Yeah.
good positive steps, I think.
And that's for the King's Arms, which most of the team play for. Apart from me, who was kicked out not long ago before having back surgery. So I'll just leave that in there. Yeah, no, that's great. And I've seen a good result for Plymouth Argyle on the weekend, Lou. Won beat Portsmouth 3-1 on the weekend, I think. Lou Vines. So you'll be happy with that.
Mate, I couldn't tell you.
Couldn't tell you. Too fine. Anyway, right, boys. I'm glad we're all keeping well. Jump straight back in. So work-life balance, something a lot of us have struggled with. Obviously, we've got gyms. Some of us have got girlfriends, wives, partners, and it's something that we all struggle with. So Dino, someone who tend to find himself on mute, but not on mute most of the last episode, I'd like you to start with that section. Tell us how you manage to work your work-life balance, whether that's you go to the gym, work. I know you're married as well, which is something to throw in there. So tell us a little bit about yourself and how you manage certain chores and tactics with being married.
Mine's a struggle. Work-life balance isn't too much of a struggle. I just go to work. Once I leave work, I don't really think about it. Don't hammer like overtime or anything like that. So I just do my basic 40 hours. The thing I do struggle with probably is like relationship work-life balance as well, because especially for my wife, although we are married, we never actually had a wedding during lockdown. So we're in the process of sorting that out at the moment. And part of that is I'm trying to lose weight for my wedding, which is in 6 weeks' time. So we had agreed that I could play as much football, go to the gym as much as I want. But now when I'm going to football Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, it's not the greatest. Bit of like complaining going on. That's just something I'm struggling with at the moment because, as I mentioned last episode, I just love me football. I play football all day, every day if I could. But I really probably need to start finding a better balance and having a bit crack with the wife, finding some time for us. I mean, even this, like I said, this weekend I went away to Glasgow, so I played football every day last week, apart from Friday night, but Friday night I travelled to Glasgow. It was a Glasgow weekend, and then I drove back Sunday morning to play football. So the only time we had together really was Sunday afternoon, and then to rinse and repeat week. So same thing again this week, pretty much.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
I've got to
it's
say,
sort of a big. Yeah, sorry, what?
yeah, no, I was gonna say just props to Ethan because sorry, not props to Dean because based on the photos I've seen in our group chat, the transformation, I was shocked. So obviously I'm not knowing you very long, but yeah, I can see that you're putting the work, bro. So props to you, bro. Keep doing what you're doing, bro, because it's obviously working, man.
I've got to lose weight if I want to play football.
Do you know what? I think you're highlighting a really good point there, though, Dino. To be fair, like it's really hard, like as we get older. Like I've certainly found this to do the things we want to do the things we know we should do, and then also balancing the things that are our priorities. So, like for me, I really find it tough. Like as you've said, like I would play football every single day if I could. But then I would also go to the gym. I would also see my mates. Then it's seeing the missus. It's seeing like I've got a son. It's
Yeah.
like it's learning. It's like doing studying or something, or it's getting it all into your like. We only have so much time. We only have so many hours in the day, so much time in a week, and it just feels like whenever you're on top of one thing. So at the moment, obviously, Dean, you're on top of your health, which is great. Or you're getting on top of your health, which is great. Then there's always that negative of like, if you're putting so much time into getting healthy, you're not putting the time into your partner, or you're not putting the time into your friends, or you're not putting the time into your work, or just your own well-being of like, other than playing football, what else are you doing that makes you happy? It could just be football that makes you happy, but like it's getting that balance that I find really hard. I'm one of these people who I'm all in one thing, and I really struggle to be like good at everything. Like I'm not good at being a great dad, a great partner, committed to football every single week, to having enough time for myself. Like I really struggle with that. So I'd be really keen to find out how you guys really manage that and what the challenges that you have.
I think
Yeah.
I think sorry, just to jump in because I was just on a thought here. I was watching a podcast the other day, Human Bin Lab podcast, and they were talking about this, and it was sort of saying like on a scale of 10, you've got your relationships, say your work, and then your health, and sort of you can give them a number, and it's trying to attribute it to sort of, I guess, to spread it out a little bit. Whereas at the minute, I'm probably like, for example, I'm probably a 2 for work, a 2 for my relationship, and then I'm a 6 for me exercise, where probably just need to dial back on the football, although it's hard because I just love it. But maybe more than my wife, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'll probably get lynched for saying that if she watches this, but but yeah, it is. It's just so hard to find that balance, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. How do you guys find it, Ethan, Marco?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I know I threw you under the bus there a bit, saying work, life, marriage, football. I give you such a broad topic there. But for me, I've not got a girlfriend at the moment. I'm not married. I haven't got any children. For me, and I'm currently as well. I'm in a recovery period. So for the listeners, I've had back surgery back in December, and that sort of took me out of the equation. If you're watching this, you'll see us fidget a lot because I'm not very comfortable sitting or anything. And for me, before my back surgery, being such a large guy, obviously I've mentioned my weight struggles in last week's episode. I love training. I don't see it as a chore. So a lot of my time would be involved in the gym. So I'd be in the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I would rely on my friends to be there with us at 5 o'clock, hold me accountable. But then I'll be at the gym after work as well till 7, 8 o'clock. So I think when it comes to a work-life balance, something is always sacrificed, unfortunately. And probably most of the time that is sort of a love life or a sort of romantic side of things, because I'm not really happy in myself at the moment, and it's hard to then be happy with someone else. As bad as this sounds, when I came out of hospital and I wasn't training, I was sort of bedbound. My girlfriend at the time, she was amazing, and we got on like house on fire because we had so much time together, and I wasn't going to the gym twice a day. I wasn't putting myself first. Um, and then obviously the more I'm back in recovery, I'm trying to swim, do stuff in the pool, the more she sort of then didn't get as much of a look in, and then things broke down between us, unfortunately, and I'll forever be grateful for the way she helped me, and I sort of regret the fact that I had to sort of things have broke up. But realistically, you've always got to put yourself first, and that's the hard thing with work-life balance. Is not just the work side of it, but being happy in yourself as well as being happy with others. And I think that's probably like, I don't want to sort of summarize up, but I think that's why a lot of my friends, especially when they get in relationships, put a bit of weight on, and then get a bit emotionally upset because of the weight gain, because they don't have time to go to the gym. They're seeing their partner, they're eating sort of different foods, takeaways, things like that. So I think for me, my point is there's a lot of sacrifice if you're wanting to try and get that balance. Unless you're Chris Hemsworth, who works on movies, he's a massive reference to me. He just works on movies and trains and eats whatever he wants all day, lives the life. But I think it's a big sacrifice and something's got to give.
I can't wait till he comes on the podcast now, because that's 2 and 2 he's been mentioned. So I hope he knows that Ethan Rowan's your... Exactly, yeah. I hope he's got a poster of you on his wall like you've got on his.
Well, that's it. I've got a poster of Chris Hemsworth with no top on, and then I've got a photo of Chris Hemsworth's trainer, Luke Zotro. So that is my bedroom wall with no top on. So yeah, that's my experience. I think you've got to have a lot of sacrifice, and it's not nice, it's not easy, but it hopefully in the end it's worth it. But I respect Dean. I respect you massively for having your wife and obviously your dog, and you work a lot, you play football, you've done amazing things, your weight loss, and same with Lewis. Lewis has climbed the ladder at work, had a new baby, he's got a young family, so those guys have done amazingly well. I mean, Marco, I don't know if you want to shed some light on your situation, how you manage it and how you manage your time a bit better.
For sure, man. Guys, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be frank, man. Like, I'm single. I recently had to move back home because my landlord came back, and she was supposed to be away for like 3 years, but she came back she messaged me on Boxing Day to say, look, I need the house back by the end of January. So I had to move out quite quickly. So I came back home, and for me, I'm single, right? So I've literally got the time on my hands, right? So all I do is work, and now I'm just planning everything. I'm planning what I'm doing next in my life. I'm planning my next move. And I've always, to be honest, I've always struggled with my work-life balance. When I was employed, it was a bit easier, because when you're in employment, you know exactly where you're going to be from 9 to 5 or wherever your working time is. But ever since I've become self-employed, don't get me wrong, I love it. I love being self-employed. I love the aspect of working wherever you want to work and taking time off whenever you want to take time off. But for me, I find it like, I found it hard to adjust, to go from being really structured to just kind of having so much time on my hands, work whenever I want to work. Because when I'm all in on work, I'm all in, and I forget about everything else. I forget about my social life, because I'm addicted to making money. So like when I'm working and I see that I'm making money, I'm like, oh, I'll just do this, I'll just do this. But then, but when you think about it, it's like everyone else is like, oh, Marco never makes an effort anymore. We never hear from Marco no more. All he does is work. And when you have that kind of mindset, it's no good, because you're neglecting your friends. You're neglecting your family. I was neglecting my health. So though I'm working, I'm making money, I'm forgetting about everything else. So that's why now, funny enough that we're talking about this, because I've actually just recently, I think it was like a week ago, I bought one of those white boards. The white boards that we used to have at school. And now all I do is just set out my week on the whiteboard, and essentially, I've regimented my life now to a point where I know what I'm doing all week, and whenever I've got free time, that's when I do other things. So I make sure that the important things that I need to do get dealt with first, and everything else, whether it's my social life or whether it's whatever it is I need to do, it comes after. Because I think having a good structure to your life is so important, because you tend to get shit done when you've got things planned, and you've got an idea, and you've got a goal, and you know what you need to do. Whereas when you haven't got a plan, someone could be like, oh, Marco, do you want to go do this? I'm like, hey, let's go do it. But then you forget that you've actually got a goal, or you've got certain things to do, and you keep I end up starting to push things back, and And it quickly just gets messy, because whatever it is that you had plans on doing, whether it's starting the gym and getting in shape, you quickly fall out of that, you know. So but yeah, I've always struggled, and it's a learning curve though, guys. So you know, that's why we're chatting about this. So I'm taking some tips from you guys, and we'll see how it goes. But I think I'm getting better.
Yeah, no, that's some really good points there, actually. And I feel when I was single, I was pretty much the same as you in the sense. It's been a long time since I was single, but pretty much the same as you in terms of like prioritizing myself, and what Ethan said before around you've got to be selfish a little bit. I suppose I want to flip that question to you all. Do you feel like finding true happiness and that work-life balance and all those sorts of things, that lies within being quite selfish with your time, or do you feel it lies in giving your time to others because you get more out of that? So, for example, me as a new dad, obviously my son is like 7 months old. I personally feel, whilst I get loads of a good kick, that's not even a phrase really, is it? I get a good kick out of like going for a run myself or playing football or whatever. Like I feel like I actually get more out of putting time into my son, and as I'm getting older, probably as you realize that your family maybe aren't here forever and all those sorts of things, grandparents get a little bit older, putting more time into the people that I love versus the person that I think I can be by doing the things that I did when I was like 15 and just playing football with my mates or whatever. So interested in your thoughts on like that whole being selfish versus selfless type approach with your time.
Yeah, I mean, starting on that, I think going back to my situation, where I would be sort of in the gym morning and night, sandwiched between work, and then I'd see my girlfriend the weekend. I think that was not a healthy work-life balance, because I didn't see my girlfriend enough at the time, who was, who was phenomenal and a really great person. The only issue is, for me, this is my personal experience. When I obviously did me back and I was injured, and we had a 2 week period, which is phenomenal, together. But then I did start to probably resent her, and my mental health suffered because of the fact that I wasn't training and I wasn't at work.
Yep.
So I'm a bit of a social butterfly. I love work. I love going to work. I love seeing my friends, and I love going to the gym. Like, it's not, like I say, it's not a chore to me. And the fact that I couldn't do it, my mental health suffered massively, and then my relationship suffered massively. And I was, and that's what broke my relationship down, because I didn't have. Not only was it because I had so much time for her and I had so much time for myself, but I wasn't doing the things that made me happy, and ultimately that cost me significantly. So that's something that, as though I would love to be selfish, and like I say, and I have to be selfish, and probably that's why we're not together anymore. I wish, looking back on it, I had more of a better balance and was able to control my emotions and be happy, not training, and enjoy the moment. Like you said, Lewis, you haven't, like, I know I've spoken to you off air and stuff, and obviously you having a child that impacted your football massively, and you don't have the ability to be selfish because it's a child. It's not like you can put it away for 3 days and go play football on the weekend with your pals, Like, whereas Dino's in a situation where Dino's got a wife who's very understanding, and she let him go play football. He hasn't got responsibilities of a
She
child.
sounds
Then
it.
you've got me.
If she isn't, she definitely sounds understanding, doesn't she? God, I would
Exactly.
never get away with that.
Well, that's it. And then you've got Marco and myself. Obviously I'm crippled at the moment, but Marco, who can do whatever he wants. He's a great looking guy, got good banter. He can do what he wants. So his world's his oyster. He hasn't got anything that ties him down. I'm only human. I am only human. But yeah, so that personally for me, that's the work-life balance is something that I've never really got a grasp on, from my experience. And like I say, my relationships have suffered because of it. I'm curious to hear what about you guys as well. Like Dino and Marco. Sorry,
I actually have a question on that. Do you think that men? Dino sounds like he definitely doesn't struggle with it. But do you feel like men struggle to communicate properly how we want to prioritize our time? Like, I always feel really guilty if I'm up on, for example, obviously we play football on a Sunday. If I go out on a Sunday morning, then I don't get back till late Sunday afternoon, and my missus has been with with my son all day. Like, I feel really guilty for that. But actually, like you said, Ethan, like, I need that time for me to be a good dad, to come back and go, look, I've released a load of energy. I was a little bit stressed, just work life, whatever. And you just blow off some cobwebs, blow off some steam, come back, and I'm happy dad again. But do you think men generally struggle with it? Because we all have mates who we will call whipped, or mates who they're under the thumb with their missus, all those sorts of things, or their husband, boyfriend, whatever. Who do you think that's actually a problem that men have, where they don't feel like they can be selfish as they get into a relationship a little bit, or prioritize their own time?
Well,
I
I
think
sure as
so.
hell couldn't. Sorry, Dean. No, I'll let you go. I've talked enough, Dean. You go. You tell me. You're in the relationship. I'm not now, anyway.
Well, I was just thinking you might have a poster of Marco on your wall pretty much soon, going off what you were just saying there, mate.
Yeah,
I have. Don't tell him. Don't tell him.
All jokes aside, though, no, I think, it's probably a misrepresentation of the way that my relationship is, really, because it's enough. I don't want to say it too loud because she's just next door, but it's probably not fair, really. I don't know if it was mentioned on the last podcast, but my wife's Japanese, so she's got a small cluster of friends. But saying that when I'm playing football might give the idea that she's probably out with her friends doing what she wants to do, but in theory she's just in the house planning the wedding and stuff like that. So it's a hard one, because when I grew up playing football, I played all my young life, and then I stopped when I was 18, and I didn't play again until I was like 30. So like now, knowing that I'm 32 and I'm feeling like I've only got a few years left of prime football where I can sort of enjoy it, especially injury free and stuff like that, I'm wanting to take advantage of it. And it's probably really hard to find that balance where if I'm at work 9 till 5, 9 till 6, 10 till 7, and then I'm going to football 7 till 9, we're coming in, we're going to bed 10 o'clock. It's not fair, really, but it's just hard to have to choose. And I guess eventually you have to make the decision. What typically happens in the lifestyle of the cycle of my relationship is I'll start going to loads of football. She'll get annoyed. I'll cut back on football. She's not annoyed, so I'll start creeping in a little bit more football, and then it just sort of goes full circle until I'm getting wrong, and then I pull it back and that. So, definitely.
How does that affect your health? But how does that affect your health when you cut it back?
Well, I'm not as motivated. I mean, one thing is, one of the things it's because of the time of football being at night. I can't go and play football at 5 o'clock in the morning. So originally I was going to the gym too much. So then it was like, right, okay, well, how do I do that? So to solve that, what I was doing is getting up in the morning. She's not an early riser. I'm an early riser. Well, I am now. I never used to be. And getting up and going to the gym and getting it out the way with. And then if I'm not at football on a Monday or a Friday or something like that, then I've got time. But then it's like, before you know it, it's the gym, and then it's the football, and then it's the podcast, and then it's my friends playing darts. So he's asked us if I want to come and watch, or it's just, I guess it's picking and choosing. And I probably after the wedding, once I've hit my weight loss goals, I'll probably have to start, reining it in, and probably picking and choosing the right times. Maybe miss one here, miss one there, or But yeah.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to what Dino was saying. I heard an analogy not long ago that basically alluded to the fact that your life is essentially like it's just the solar system, and everything has a purpose, right? So like you have things like hobbies that you like to do, you have things like your friends in your life, you have your family, and you have your partner, and whatever else there is that you do in your life, right? And essentially what they said is you have to try and find a way that you get a bit of everything, because every single one of those things, works together in order to make you eternally fulfilled, right? So if you can find a way and you can communicate this to whoever it is that's in your life, or find a way to get a small balance from everything, because I think if you get a bit of too much, then you're starting to neglect a little bit of something else. So you can find the right balance, then you'll find that everything will work in formation. So that's what I'm working towards, to be honest. And I think that, to be honest, if I was to get a partner, I would make her aware that, okay, right now this is what I'm doing. I'm really in my training at the moment. I'm trying to get in really good shape, and that's just because it's for my benefit as well. Like, it's not just because I'm doing this because I'm being, I don't want to spend time with my partner or whatever. It's just because I need to do this for me. It's important that I do this so then I can reach my goals. And then once I reach my goals, then I can maybe tone it down a little bit. I don't have to be so strict on how I eat. I don't have to be so strict on how much I train. But I think getting the right balance of all these different things, like, let's say, for example, I'm planet Earth. My missus is essentially my son. She's there essentially to make sure that I'm well looked after, or she's she just provides sort of the light in my life. I don't want to have to come back to my missus and she's like, she's pissed off at the fact that I'm having to do something. I want it to be understanding. And I think that's something that's important to the people in your life, to understand what you're doing, and to be
and why you're doing it.
Yeah, why you're doing it, and to be encouraging us, to be encouraging in what you're doing. So I think that's important, to be honest. But that's all I've got to say, to be honest, on that.
Yeah, I think you guys have, Dean and Marco, you have mentioned it great there, and again, I think it's like, it takes it back to sacrifice. That there's got to be not only a sacrifice but a compromise, because for those of you that have got girlfriends or have had girlfriends or wives, there's a lot of compromise throughout, and that's something I struggle with. Not just compromise, but try to talk about it. So obviously, this podcast is a lot. We want to try and talk about what we don't really talk about, and we want to be comfortable in being uncomfortable, having these conversations, and being honest with you. When I was with my ex and I was training so much, it was more not only for myself, but I was trained because I wanted to look, as daft it sounds, you want to look sexy for your partner, and you don't want to be like people in the street. Like it it is funny. Like, you don't want to be in the street with your partner, and like people think, fucking hell, like why is she with him? He's fat as out.
Me and my wife.
Or like, you know what I mean? But it's tough.
Let me just
I think having the.
Sorry, Ethan. Sorry, just to jump in on what you're saying there. I think personally, I think it's something to bear in mind is, like, I feel as if you should, like, I feel as if you should be, like, I know it is something that it is in the back of a lot of people's minds when you're not physically in great shape, but I think, if you're with someone who loves you for who you are, then I think nothing else should really matter. Like, you might think, oh yeah, why? Like, someone might be looking at me and saying, wait, bro, you're a top, as long as I've known you, you're a top guy, bro. There's so many people that are in great shape, but they're in, they're dickheads, bro. Like, there's so many people out there who are, they're flourishing, they're looking good, you look good in the mirror, but you're not a very good soul, you're not a very nice person. And bro, it's priceless being someone who's got a good heart, is a nice person. That alone should allow you to carry yourself, like you are that guy with a six-pack, So
to own it.
Yeah, own it. I mean, own who you are, and and nothing else should really matter, bro. If you're with a girl who loves you for who you are, bro, nothing else should really matter, to be honest. And I think you should consider that, bro.
No, I appreciate that, Mark. It means even more coming from you, mate. Because how much I like you and that. You know what I mean? But I know I do appreciate it, and I think you're right. Like, you've got to have that. And don't get us wrong. Like, everyone who knows is that around the lads, I am that guy. Like, I'm not. Like, people can call us fat, they can call us whatever, and I'll take it and I'll own it, because I'm like, yeah, I am. You know what I mean? I'm the funny fat lad, especially at work and stuff. But like, for me, like I said about my ex, because the last time when I mentioned, but she was always like, I love you for who you are, things that I don't want you to change. But it was my mental side of it, and like I say, not being able to train and not having that work-life balance. Because going back to Marco's point as well, the structure, having structure in your life. So having the getting up and going to the gym, then going to work, then gym, or going to work. Sorry, gym, going to work, go see her, or having that structure, not having that structure was a massive negative impact sort of emotionally. So I think as much as I'm hearing Lewis and Dean mentioning that they're struggling to have time to see the children. Well, obviously Lewis's child, Dean's wife, things like that. These are all great things to have because they're a luxury that you've got, and you've got such an amazing amount of time you can have with people. But obviously, it's then trying to figure all that jigsaw out and make it worthwhile. And obviously, for me, I'm not in that situation, so I think it's really good to hear those contrasting stories. And like you say, me and Mark on the other side of things, two handsome bachelors at the moment, shredded up in the gym every day. And that's it. But no, I appreciate that, Mark. Well, thank you. I mean,
do you feel like you can't ever be happy with like your balance? So if I listen to what you've just said there, Ethan, like you're struggling to be happy with your balance because you're always looking for some sort of external validation you're looking for an external happiness. Like even when you were happy with your partner, you were looking for something else to make you happier. Like you were looking for, and that might be your, like we all have our deep issues, right? And I'm sure over time we'll talk about it all on here. But like for you to truly be happy with a partner, do you think you first have to be really happy within yourself and like accept where you are in your life and you are who you are? Do you think there's a bit of work around that? Because I definitely feel I need that too.
Yeah, I would say so. I think personally, definitely, because I couldn't sort of give everything to my partner, and I was a bastard at times because I wasn't happy in my own mental health. And if you add certain factors to the fact that I wasn't training, I wasn't at the gym, I was, I started drinking, I was on heavy medication. I started becoming a different person, and she suffered from it because I didn't have the work-life balance. I didn't have, everything that should have been in place wasn't in place, and I was looking for that validation elsewhere, and I wasn't really getting it. And I would honestly give anything to change it because things like I say, like I really love going to the gym. I love work. I loved her, to be fair. You know what I mean? All these things, and who knows what would have happened if my back had never went. But it's just one of those things. I do look for validation in people, and that's probably where my problem is. Like Marco said some great things there about us, and I really sort of appreciate that. And that sort of stuff that everyone likes to hear, that they're like really nice, or people respect them, or think they're funny, or think that.
But we don't hear it enough, do we?
No, we don't do it. That's the problem.
Like even us as a group of mates, right? Like, and we talk a lot, but blokes, and this is obviously a completely different topic for the future. But blokes aren't really like, we're nice to each other by ripping the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
We're nice to each other by like, if you say something stupid or if you do something stupid, the first thing we're doing is putting it in the group chat and having your life. We are not going, are you right, mate? Like, is everything okay? So I think there's almost that part within blokes. We've got to find that happy balance of, yes, I love it when I get to take the piss out of one of you. I get a weird kick out of when you guys take the piss out of me. But it's making sure, as you say, that we reinforce that with some of the nice stuff.
I think, to be honest, I think it's important though, a bit of that kind of banter with the boys, because it builds resilience, bro. And understanding it's not coming from a bad place, and that it's just lads banter, then it's okay. Like if someone's being malicious and you can tell they're being malicious, most of the time, the group can tell that person's being malicious. So, and that doesn't last very long. But I think it's important because it builds character as well. Because you have to then think of something witty to come back with, and and talk to give them a back. So. Yeah, it's funny. It's jokes. It's all about. That's what it's about. That's how it's. That's what lads band is about.
Yeah.
Something I've been talking about this weekend with my friends, like the girls at work are so nice to each other and stuff. Like, and they come in and they're like, "Oh my god, I love your hair. Your hair's so nice," and that. And I was just thinking, like, we never ever do that. Even if like we really appreciate like what the nice top or something, be like, "Oh, top's all right, isn't it?" Something like that, but like it just made us think like we don't really give that, is it?
or even if we know it's a nice top and we like the
Yeah.
top, we'll go.
Just call
Can't
it a
believe you got
shit.
that fake. Can't believe you got that fake top.
Yeah, oh, you
Like,
beat
do
the
you know what I
turkey, have you?
Exactly. Like that's the crack. Just because we can't ever be nice to each other. But
No.
actually, I hope with this a little bit. I'm not saying I ever want our group chat to ever change, where we become like how I see my missus and her friends talking to each other. But I feel like there's probably room in the male society for a little bit more.
A bit more love.
You're right, mate. Yeah, are you all right, mate? Like, is everything all right? Like,
Mhm.
I've taken the piss out of you, and you can see you being quiet. Is everything all right? We don't do that enough. I feel like there's definitely a bit of a gap for that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. To be honest, I agree because you never know what people are. Essentially, you never know what someone's going through. It could be banter, but like
Yeah.
they can be battling demons, bro. So you're right. You're right, Lou.
They could leave the podcast.
Yeah, you could.
Today, Matthew Slater.
He'll be
Earlier on
back.
today, 2 hours ago.
He'll be back.
He'll be back.
Yeah, I hope he is. Some boy. I suppose what my last question before Ethan, you jump in with your end to the podcast question would be the question to all of you here. Has there ever been a time, and sort of 30-second minute answers here, where you really struggled with sort of balancing priorities in your life? So has there been a time, and how have you learned from that? I'm happy to go first while people think about it. So the first, so mine would be, and it happens fairly regular for me, whenever I try and push on with my career, as I mentioned earlier, I go 100% all in on something. So when I'm really pushing my career, I'm going to progress, I'm going to learn, I'm going to progress. I'm not very good at then going, okay, I'm going to put the brakes off and be a good dad and be a good partner and be a good friend and still play football and socialize. I think what I need to accept is I'm not always going to be the best. I'm not, and I can't just get to where I want to just because I'm going to put 100 miles per hour in all the time and fuck up the rest of my life. But not the rest of my life, the future. I mean, the rest of my life, everything else around me. That's definitely something that I've reflected on over the past few months of prioritizing the things that are important to me and not thinking everything, even though Marco alluded to it too, is about money and that sort of career achievement. That's the big thing I want to learn, and it's what I'm trying to learn currently. Ethan, what about you?
I'll hand over to Marco first.
Lou, I'm gonna have to be honest. What was the question? Let's go back to the question. Give me that question.
That's why I did it, because I couldn't remember the question either.
So a time. Tell me a time in your life where you have struggled with prioritizing your time, and what have you learned from it?
Yeah.
This is probably interview questions.
For me, it's for me. I always find that whenever I prioritize anything in my life, right, I always tend to neglect my health, and that's one thing that I just feel as if, because I've had, as some of you may know, that what I do for a job at the moment is I'm currently an Uber driver, and I've met a few doctors, I've met a few like medical people, and they always say that after 30 it's all downhill, so you need to really take care of yourself, and that's stuck in my mind. And so I find that every time that I neglect, I'm all in on something, I always neglect my health, and that's something that I have it's something that's so important to me now, and my priority right now is to get my health in shape. As soon as I get my health in shape, and then I can build my life around that. That's what's important to me right now. So I don't know if that's answered your question, but
it has. Dino, do you want to go next? It seems like Ethan's probably still scared of answering the question.
I can go. I think with me, I'm a funny one because I've always had a really addictive personality. So anything that I do, I just throw myself in it, and that's all I can focus about. Like I've lost jobs and stuff because I've got into gaming, and then all I can do is play games. And same like once I start going to the gym, I want to go to the gym all day, every day. So I've always pretty much struggled with prioritizing anything. This is just a little one about maybe slightly off topic, but similar as again, is the procrastinating, the putting things off for ages. Not prioritizing
Yeah.
just the easy jobs. And like sometimes, for example, I'll be sitting here, I'll have my dinner, on my lunch break when I'm working from home. I'll have the plate here. I'm going downstairs. I'll see the plate and I'll think, I'll take that later, even though I'm standing there next to the plate thinking I'll take it down. So, like recently, I've been reading a couple of books. Read one called Atomic Habits, and one and there's a 2-minute rule. And the 2-minute rule is if it takes less than 2 minutes to do, just do it now.
Yeah.
And it's amazing that since I've started doing that, like how much less housework there is to do, how much of the jobs like you haven't got all these little bits lying around. So something that's really actually helping prioritize the procrastination, sort of that sort of priority time wise and stuff as well.
Oh, very good. Some really good insight there as well, Dean. Cheers.
And
Go on, Nathan.
for me, I would say I'm going to be sugarcoated. I think life has always been. I don't really think there's an instance. I think every day, like you've got to, like I said before, sacrifices. Trying to find the pieces of the jigsaw that fit together. And metaphor for me, which I've told my uncle recently, was the fact that if you're not move, a lot of people see if you don't move forward, you're moving backwards. Whereas if I see a move to the side, I'm still on the board. And if you're still on the board, you can win the game at any point. So there's an analogy. Like I say, I've struggled a lot with time management, with the work to life balance, going to the gym, girlfriends, things like that. So I think it's an overall struggle that I'll continue to learn off. And I think sharing these experiences has been tremendous, because I think we've got such a broad variety. And we're from Dean, who's married, to Lewis, who's got a young family, to me and Marco, two single, single sexy bachelors. People want to hit us up, we're ready for that. But jokes aside, I think it's a
Ethan, this is predominantly a men's podcast.
Well, even better. I don't judge. Even better.
Ethan, don't be yourself, mate. Don't be yourself, lad.
But no, I think it's like I say, it's a great subject we've touched on, and it's going to be a continuous sort of struggle for me and the rest of us, and I appreciate you guys opening up. There's something I do want to sort of end with, and for those of you that are listening and watching, we are trialing out a new sort of way to end the podcast, and it's something called Hear No Evil, See No Evil, which is actually a film from the 1980s. With Richard Pryor in. But the premise of this, Hear No Evil, See No Evil, basically, we would like either a celebrity guest. Today, unfortunately, our celebrity guest isn't here, so we've got Marco, who will be doing the honours. And what we would like the celebrity guest, or in this case, handsome Marco, to do is give us either a podcast or book that has had a positive impact either in your life in the past or something you could be listening to now. Just something you would recommend to our listeners and us as your pals, just to get involved with. Like I say, a book or a podcast. Tell us a little bit about it. And yeah, over to you, Marco.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the two main people that I listen to is mainly Joe Rogan and a guy called Lex Friedman, and they speak to a bunch of different people. And to be honest, there's a lot of gems on there. Mainly, what I do find is I go on YouTube. And I'll look at Joe Rogan podcast clips, and if it's an interesting topic that I find that I can resonate with, I normally tend to just stick it on, because that's normally how you find good podcasts, because you'll find the short content, and then you'll then go and find the actual full length content. So I'll recommend the name Joe Rogan, Lex Friedman. There's a lot of Lex Friedman's mainly sort of into his tech and AI and all that kind of stuff, and I love that kind of stuff. So I listen to him based on that. And Joe Rogan is just is a bit of everything, self-development, growth,
he's the
journaling.
goat, isn't he?
Yeah, he's just like the GOAT. That's the reason why we're doing this, because pioneers like Joe Rogan. And to be honest, I just tend to flick through them as well, because most of the time when I'm working, I just put them on in the car, and You know, sometimes I won't even remember the name, but there's so many, you know, I normally focus on self-development podcasts where, you know, I can listen to things that will allow me to grow and to become a better person every day. And I'm not just saying this to be superficial, but like I genuinely just want to be a better person every single day. I've made so many mistakes in my life that I'm just like, do you know what? Like, you know, I just need to focus on bettering myself, and you know that's all that matters to me right now. And yeah, so Joe Rogan and Lex Fridman are the two main guys that I listen to right now.
Fantastic. No, thank you very much, Mark.
Unreal.
Rowan. For anyone who hasn't heard of Joe Rogan, if you've been living under a rock, Joe Rogan and Lex Fridman. There we go. Some great going. Well, guys, so we'll wrap it up there. Thank you very much for your time. It's been a great episode. We've shed a bit of light, and I hope our experiences have helped everyone else as well. Feel free to like and miss that camera again. If any of you watching, that's my camera going for the second time today. Feel free to like, subscribe the podcast, and there'll be videos around somewhere of us as well on TikTok or something like that. All the best. Anything from you guys before we head off?
No, thanks, lads. That was a great episode.
Amazing.
All good.
Really good.
Thanks for sharing, guys.
Cool. We'll catch you on the next one.
See you there,
Take care,
guys.
boys. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
In a mood.
See-